Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Coral. My voice is a little hoarse. I can't laugh or I'll cough. Hi. This is a couple days late. As you might be able to tell from my voice, I got a little bit sick, but I'm feeling much better. However, I still have a hoarse voice, so please bear with me. This isn't going to be a super long video, but today I'm going to be talking about the last 5 movies I watched for my Halloween movie marathon. Okay, so first I'd like to tell you about a movie I watched called Sputnik, which was on Hulu. This was a Russian language film, and this takes place in the 80s. It was a pretty interesting movie. This is definitely a sci-fi horror, if you might have guessed from the name. And this is about a cosmonaut, a Russian cosmonaut who is coming back from space. And when him and his partner re-enter the atmosphere on Earth, something goes terribly wrong with their ship. They're found later, and one of the cosmonauts is dead, and the surviving cosmonaut, there's something really wrong with him. So he's taken back to this compound, and it's very secretive. The part of the government that's working with this cosmonaut is keeping this hidden from other parts of the government. It's very, very secret. They bring a psychologist in to talk with him, and she finds that this man has some sort of parasitic alien living inside of him. And I think that's where I'll leave you guys on the plot. I thought that this was pretty good. I really loved the creature design in this, and I enjoyed the ending. However, there were times in the movie where it definitely felt like things could have been sped up a little bit. But all in all, I really enjoyed this one. The director for this was Igor Abramenko. Next, I ended up watching ReAnimator, which is a 1985 film. This was directed by Stuart Gordon, and it has kind of his usual cast of actors and actresses. There's Jeffrey Combs, Barbara Crampton, David Gale, Bruce Abbott. But of course, Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton appear in a couple of his films. But anyways, this is about a doctor and his girlfriend, and they get a new roommate who's also a doctor and a little bit strange. And he's been performing these strange experiments and thinks he's found a way to reanimate dead bodies, but of course things go terribly wrong, and these dead bodies don't exactly act the way that we might want them to, and things go terribly wrong. So this is the first time I've watched ReAnimator. I know this is one of the classics, but it's just not one that really ever came up for me. I guess growing up, I don't know if my parents have watched it or anything. That's how I watched, a lot of the horror movies I watched growing up was with my parents, and ReAnimator just wasn't one of them. But I was really pleasantly surprised by this. I mean, it's a classic for a reason, I do suppose. It's just one of those movies that has a really great balance between being just a tiny bit campy, really gory, and it's got some weird science in it, which I appreciate. I do really love Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton. I love Stuart Gordon's movies, of what I've seen. I think that this was just kind of right on par for what I expected from him and from the actors, and I really enjoyed it. The next movie I watched was Tenebre, which was directed by Dario Argento. This came out in 1982. This is a movie I watched on Shudder, and this is a really great giallo film, which is basically a slasher, an Italian slasher, where they use lots of knives and stabby objects, and the killer wears gloves, and you don't see their face until the very end of the movie. Man, this was just really stylistically beautiful. I don't know, there's just something about the way that this is filmed that is just really nice to watch. I really enjoyed the performances of all the people involved, and altogether I thought it was a great movie. And not necessarily because, okay, so I need to tell you what the movie's about, right? This is about an author who's come to Rome to celebrate the release of his book, Tenebre. And there is a person stalking him and killing people he knows. And it's very mysterious. Who could this be? There are quite a few suspects. But in the end, I felt like I wasn't super surprised when we find out who it was. But also that was okay, because I guess I wasn't necessarily watching the movie to unravel the mystery. I was just watching the movie because it was really enjoyable and beautifully shot, and there was lots of beautiful colors everywhere and just great, I don't know, great murder scenes. And there's a part where a woman's arm's chopped off and she bleeds all over this like stark white wall, and it's just like so macabre and beautiful. I don't know, it's just a really well shot, beautiful movie. I can't wait to watch more of Argento's films. I really enjoyed this. If you haven't seen it, it's great. I found this on Shudder. If anyone would like to watch that, that's where it is. Alright, after that I watched Dark Water by Hideo Nakata. This came out in 2002, and this is about a woman in what seems to be sort of an uncommon position in Japan, where she is divorcing from her partner and trying to get custody of their young daughter. She's having a really tough time, especially because she has a history of mental illness, and, you know, the courts really see that as a terrible thing, a thing that she should be ashamed of, and a thing that might cost her, you know, custody of her daughter, which is terrible. But she really is trying to pack it together. She finds an apartment close to a preschool that her daughter can attend, or a kindergarten, I suppose, a kindergarten her daughter can attend. And, you know, she's trying to find a job, but she's having problems with their apartment building, and some strange things are happening. Mainly what's bothering her, though, is that there's a leak in her bedroom that won't stop, and no one seems to listen to her when she brings it up with the apartment management. The other thing is that she's been having these strange sightings of a girl who previously disappeared, and of course she finds that very creepy and unsettling, and she wants to get to the bottom of everything. So I think that this follows a very similar structure to a lot of Asian horror films I've seen, where there's some spooky occurrences. The main character wants to get to the bottom of what's going on. A lot of the times it's kind of like a curse. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily what's going on in this movie, but it seems like a lot of times it is something like that. And then, of course, a kind of drawn out conclusion, and everything does feel a little more drawn out, I think, than it needs to be. A lot of these have kind of a slower pacing. This one definitely did for me. There wasn't a lot of super terrifying parts, but I don't necessarily need that. But, you know, I don't know, nothing was super scary in this. It was more sad. And in the end, the mother has to make a really hard choice, and that was very sad to me. So all in all, I think this movie was just really sad. It was a sad kind of ghostly story. I didn't love this, but I didn't hate it. I watched it, I was like, okay, I don't know, maybe I'll revisit it down the road sometime in a few years, but it's not one I'm going to be, you know, turning on again in the next few months. It was just okay. Alright, and the last movie I'd like to tell you about is one of my all-time favorites. This is Creep, and this came out in 2014. This is directed by Patrick Bryce, who is also the co-star in this. It also stars Mark Duplass, who is just so fantastic in his role. I think both men are really great, and this has a super small cast. Those are the only faces you see in this movie. It's pretty incredible. But this is about a man named Joseph who hires a man named Aaron to help him film some stuff because Joseph is dying of cancer and he wants to have a video for his unborn child to be able to watch and see that, oh, this is what my dad was like. Oh my gosh, I have sunshine. I'm gonna turn this terrible light off. I'll be right back. But Joseph is kind of strange and he makes Aaron a little bit uncomfortable, but you don't know throughout the movie whether this is accidental or purposeful, and it really plays on that throughout the whole movie. It's just Zach, my husband, does not like this movie, and you know, I've watched this quite a few times and he does not like it. He calls it one of my cringy movies, and it is, because it just makes you really uncomfortable, and that is something that I really love in horror movies. I think maybe it's because I don't really get super scared watching horror movies, so it's like one of those emotions that I can feel when a movie does it right is, you know, just being like uncomfortable and getting like secondhand awkwardness from things. And so yeah, this is really, the entire movie is like that, and that's why I love it, because it's so uncomfortable the entire time. And Mark Duplass just does such a great job. I saw a tweet, it was so weird because I watched this and then I saw a tweet the next day that he put out. He was talking about Creep and how it was like he decided to make this movie just kind of, you know, in the moment, and all of a sudden this like other part of his personality came out that he didn't really expect. And I totally can see that, because it doesn't feel like he's playing a role. It feels like he is this person, and I know he's not really this person. Like, if you see this movie, he's probably not this person. I don't think. Do we know for sure? Anyway, it's just, I don't know. I could go on about it forever. It's just, it's a found footage movie. It's uncomfortable. It's really intimate and strange, and you never quite know what's real and what's not. So that's it. Those are the 5 movies I watched this week. What's up next? Oh boy, I've already watched a couple of these movies that are up next because it is already the 18th today. So coming up next, I have The People Under the Stairs. Then I'm also watching Ichi the Killer. I've got False Positive, which is a Hulu movie, Demons, and then House of Wax, the 2005 version with Paris Hilton, of course. So that's what I've got coming up. I want to thank you guys so much for watching these videos. I know it's a little bit different than what I usually do on my channel, but I appreciate those of you who care to listen to this as well. I'm sorry for my little froggy voice. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you all later. I hope you're having a really great and spooky October. Goodbye!